Everyone. Today we are going to dive in now on the final part of the imperfect that we need to cover, which is the irregular forms of the imperfect, with our two friendly irregular verbs, sum and possum. So let's first take a look at how these might be used, some examples in Latin, and then we'll look in how to form them ourselves and use them. Okay? All right. Ooh. There we are. All right. So some exempla. Puer eram nunc vir sum. So if we look at nunc vir sum, we've all learned that before. Now I am a man. So puer eram, I was a boy. Puer eram, I was a boy, and now I am a man. Puellae eramus, changing the subject, nunc feminae sumus. We were girls, now we are women. Felix erat, nunc tristus est. Anyone? He was sad, erat. He was happy, Felix. Now he is sad, tristus, that nominative singular third declension adjective ending, tristus est. Over here, dolorem sentire poteram, nunc non possum. We look at dolorem and we see that em telling us that it's accusative singular. So we're not going to take it as our subject. We keep going, go to the verb. I was able to feel pain. Now I cannot. Some sort of deep, meaning behind that. It's, immune to pain, I guess now. Maybe some sort of superhero thing going on, some evolution. But moving on, solem videre poteras. You were able, videre, to see the solem, the sun, accusative again here, so we know not to start with this word. You were able to see the sun. Nunc nubes est. Now there is a cloud. And finally, Merli Troianus defendere poterant. And maybe you can try and translate this on your own. Muri, remember, murals and intramurals were two derivatives of this word. The walls were able to defend the Trojans, again, accusative direct object. So they were able, the presumption being now they're not. Why not? Did I hear equus Troianus? I hope I did. I hope I didn't hear a Trojan horse. We should use Latin when we're watching Latin grammar videos, I hope. But let's keep moving. And so you may have seen some of these in those sentences, but let's start by making sure we still know how to conjugate sum and possum in the present tense. All right, so why don't you take a moment to try and do that in your notebooks, and also take a moment to open your notebooks if you haven't already been using that. Put a heading at the top of the page, imperfect tense of sum. Always good to start with a review anyways, so put in the present tense, try to practice, and then a subheading saying now, here are the new imperfect tense forms. But let's try that right now. Pause the video if you need more time. Here they are again. And a quick reminder, we can see most of the forms of sum, or all of the forms of sum, in the forms of possum. The only difference is that the part before the sum switched between POS and POT, depending if the form of sum began with an E or an S. Just as that quick reminder there. All right? And again, what does sum mean? How do we translate that? I am, es, you are, est, he, she, it is. How about possum? I am able, potes, you are able, potest, he, she, it is able. All right? So without further ado, let's dive in and take a look at those imperfect forms. Yes, here they are. Eram, eraserat, eramus, eratus, erant. Poteram, poteras, poterat, poteramus, poteratus, poterant. So instead of I am, which will be the present tense, the imperfect will be, if we want to say that, put that being into the past, we're going to say I was eras. You were erat. He, she, it was poteram. I was able to. Poteras, you supply it. You were able to. Yep. He, she, it was able to. Okay? Good. So on and so forth. Quick things to look at here. Who can draw a similarity between the regular bum ba spot, bamu spot to spot, bum ba spot, bamu spot to spot endings and the eram and rasarat endings? Try and find some similarities here. Hopefully, some of you are lighting on the fact that we have that MST must dissent endings again, which help us recognize whether we're talking about a you subject or a they subject, right? And you see those same endings are going to be over here too. We also, just like Bamba Spot had ba, right? This has the A is also present in our Aram or Asarat endings. So another way to kind of link those two together in your mind and remember that Bam, Ba, Spot and Aram or Asarat are all imperfect tense. Okay? All talking about the past. All right, so as you see now, the other point I want to make out is that Possum in the imperfect becomes poteram, and just like in the present tense, it contained all the present tense forms of sum. In the imperfect, it's going to contain all the imperfect forms of sum. So you only really have to learn one set here, and then just remember that with possum, just like when we went back to the present tense review, when you had an E begin the ending, we used POT, right? So you can see here we use POT before E's and POS before endings that began with an S, like sunt. When we go to the imperfect, they all begin with E, so we only have one stem. Poteram, poteras, poterat, poteramus, poteratus, poterant. So it's even easier than the present tense. All right, so all good things to be aware of, maybe good little notes. Those two key things of recognizing that the endings are similar to our typical OST must dissent endings, and that Aram is the notes about Possum with the same stem and having the forms of sum and the imperfect attached. Those are good things to jot down in your notebook next to these conjugations that you've already written out. All right, so now just one quick thing to finalize here. I just want to nota bene about the usages of sum and aram. When do we use sum and aram? Do we use it every time we use is or was or are and were in English? And the key thing to remember is that no, we do not, right? Try and take a moment and decide whether, based on these examples, which of these examples would you use a form of sum or a form of aram, and which one of these would not use one. The really legendary students will try and translate all these words pause the video and try and translate all of them before moving on. But at the very least, I want you to try and think, well, would this use a sum or an aram, or would it not? Pause the video if you need more time. All right, so the reminder is we only use sum and aram to connect two nouns or a noun and an adjective. We don't use it as part of most verb constructions we use, right? Certainly not any present or imperfect verb constructions. So make sure, whether they be active or passive. So make sure you're thinking, is this a form of sum? I am connecting he to man, right? So we're asked, he is a man. So yes, that is a form of sum. But he is running. No, is running is just the present tense. So I just take corro, correre, and I put it into the present with a third person singular ending, currit. Here, this is just the passive of deleo, delere, present passive. So I just make it delentor. I don't need any form of sum or aram. And the same thing down here, right? He is being connected to God, deus erat. He was fleeing. Nope, don't need an aram or an eras or an erat. This is just part of the imperfect form of the verb fugio, fugere. Fugiebat. They were moved, movebantor. Okay? So this is just a passive imperfect of moeo, moere. All right, so I hope this has been helpful, and we'll get more practice with all of these topics in class on Friday.